Today, we are inside a 2024 Porsche Taycan 4S. This is Porsche's entry-level model into their EVs. We're starting off with the 4S. Now, this one does have the Performance Plus battery. So we have the upgraded horsepower at 562 horsepower. And we are about to merge onto the highway here and get a feel for all of that power. We're coming to you live on a sunny day here in Toronto, Canada. So we're gonna go north onto what we call the Don Valley Parkway. We'll do a little bit of highway driving. We'll do a little bit of street driving at the end. And as we're driving along, we'll give you my honest opinions about the car. We'll also do a little bit of touch onto the infotainment system of the car. And that at the end of this, you guys have a nice virtual test drive of what it's like to be inside the 2024 Porsche Taycan 4S. I messed up with all the Porsches. Remember, guys, it's Porsche, not Porsche. You don't say Porsche, you have to say Porsche. All right, let's get a little bit of feel for the acceleration here. We're just cruising. We're gonna go full pedal. Whoa! Woo! You can see the power meter there. This thing accelerates extremely fast. There is like a half a second of a delay there, and then once it registered how much traction it had in the vehicle, it absolutely launched. Like you step on the gas pedal or the accelerator pedal and it just launches. We just went from 90 to 117 in a second. Bring it back down a little bit here and accelerate. It really whips your head to the back of the headrest. You have to be prepared for that. Put your head to the back of the headrest when you guys are testing out these cars. The one thing that I do love with the Porsche Taycan that I've already experienced is the fact that I'm coasting right now. There is literally nothing on the gas pedal or the accelerator pedal, and I'm coasting. A lot of electric cars have the one-touch pedal feel, and some even brands like BMW, you can set the percentage of how much recuperation force it has, or you can have it completely turned off. Porsche does not believe in the one-touch pedal feel. They believe in the driver's experience. Now, that's not to say they don't have recuperation. In fact, they do, but it's only activated when you touch the brake pedal. They do not activate it automatically when you're letting off the accelerator pedal. So you can see here we're using power, it is blue, and then when we brake, it is green. And that's the regenerative braking, up to 400 volts of regenerative braking for that system, which is incredible. I love it because it feels like you're driving a normal car, but it's just uber silent, no gas noise, extreme fast, twitchy acceleration. The handling is of a Porsche. This car was designed not to be the EV get maximum range car. Like, in fact, this only has about 400 kilometers of range. Like, our charging battery says that we are 78% and we have 290 kilometers of range. That is absolutely nothing when you're comparing it to a Tesla Model 3 long range or a Model S, but this car had performance in mind. It's unique. It has an 800 volt structure on the battery power plant. That is unique compared to 400 volts most other cars use, but this one was designed with Porsche handling, performance, engineering, and not meant for long range. Now, they are going to be working on that in the future. This car is rated about 400 kilometers range, and that's with the Performance Plus battery. So that's a 93 kilowatt hour battery compared to the standard one. The standard one's only like 320 kilometers of range. So this car was not meant with the range in mind. It was meant with performance. And has it done that? That's an interesting question. I think it has, because we're going to get into some handling here, but the acceleration is already just top notch. And I've driven Teslas, I've driven the Audi electric cars, I've driven the BMW electric cars, and yeah, the acceleration between all of those electric cars are almost the same. 500 horsepower is nothing new to these electric cars. Now, it is faster than, I would say, the Model 3 and the Model S, but maybe not the Model S Plaid, but you can certainly get more. Like, this is the entry, this is the 4S. You can go to the Porsches, the GTS, you have the Turbo, you have the Turbo S. There is a lot of additional power plants that you can get for the Taycan, but I just want to give a good vibe for this car, good drive for it, see how the handling is. I'm already loving the acceleration, but like I said, I love the acceleration of every electric car, because electric power is just so instant. You do have a compromise though, because you don't have that sporty sound. And a lot of people, when they're considering buying a Porsche, they're looking for a performance car and they want that engine sound. So this electric car market from Porsche is kind of niche. It's kind of the company's way of not getting left behind, even though they don't really want to go to electric. And just coming into these corners, just the handling, even on winter tires, it's fantastic. Has such a low center of gravity because of all of the weight being in the battery. And that's just normal mode. This one doesn't have sport chrono, so we don't have a dial here on the steering wheel. We don't have the clock in the center console, but we do have a sport mode that we can click down here. We can get into sport mode. All right, so let's take a look of the exterior on the 2024 Porsche Cayenne. Nope. All right, so let's take a look of the exterior for the Porsche Taycan 4S. This is a 2024 model. We have the standard simple white exterior. We're gonna do a quick walk around. Now, being that it has the electric and the battery, you have the front here, which you can open up by swiping your hand. This is a look at the front space that you're gonna be getting on the Porsche Taycan, where your washer fluid goes. This one is the roadside flare, which is an individual option that you can add on from the factory. Coming around to the side, we do have the aero wheels. We do have winter tires on this one. From the factory, it also gets the upgraded electric charging port. So another standalone option here. You have level 1 and level 2 and level 3 on the passenger side of the vehicle. Coming around to the driver's side of the vehicle, same thing, but you're only gonna have level 1 and level 2 access. You just have to put your finger on the bottom there, and then it opens up. You do have comfort entry, so the door handles are going to come unflushed as soon as you walk towards the vehicle. This one is only a 4-passenger. You can see there is no center seat there. You do have to add that option in from the factory if you want it. Very bucketed rear leather seats here on the Taycan with the full moonroof at the top. Does have an active rear spoiler here, which activates while we're driving, and that is the button to open up the trunk. I love the 3D Porsche logo look, and then you do have the standard level 1, level 2 charger that comes with it. Frameless door windows, blind spot monitoring, comfort access with the dimple. Taking a look at the front seats, does have the individual Porsche crests on the headrest. With Porsche, everything is an option. Black leather interior. You can see we have a bit of a gap for storage there. Now, let's get back on the road. So we'll do sport mode for the rest of the drive back. See the difference? Oh my God, instant acceleration. There's no delay there. It was just instant. So you can really tell with the sport mode how much electricity goes towards it. And electric cars, unlike gas cars, you know, you do have to warm these cars up. The warmer the electrical circuits are, the easier the electricity flows. So when it's a very cold day, you're not getting all of that power. And that also goes to the charging. Porsche recommends that, or rates that this car can charge from 5 to 80% in 22 minutes, which is one of the fastest ones out there possible. And the reason that they can do that is because of the 400-volt architecture charging system that they'll use. Now, that being said, you're only going to be achieving that under very critical conditions. One, you need to be at a very low state of charge. You need to be 5 to 10% of charge, because the battery has to have a very high volume in order to charge in super fast. Battery has to be within optimal range, so you need to preheat your battery up to, or pre-cool, however it is, to get it to the optimal range before you get to the charging station. And then you also have to have the charging station that has that many volts and watts in order to put out so much power. Porsche has everything as an option. Everything that you want with Porsche when you're ordering one of these cars is an option. This one does have the upgraded AC charging for level 2 up to 19 kilowatt hours for when you're at home, and it does have the upgraded DC charger, so you can charge up to 150 kilowatts at 400 volts. Now, interesting, a lot of Porsche charging stations actually have a ginormous battery built into the ground by the charging station, so that when you are going to charge your Porsche, you're not actually pulling electricity from the grid. You're pulling electricity from the battery, so that they can give you as much electricity as you need that doesn't rely on the grid, so that you can charge as fast as possible. And then while somebody's not charging it, the grid is actually charging up the battery. So anytime you're charging at a Porsche station, just keep in mind that hidden underground is a massive battery in order to charge up your car, which I thought that was pretty cool, because it doesn't matter how the grid is going at that time, whoever else is using the grid, it's always going to be able to give you the electricity that you need to charge your car as fast as possible. Man, let's just do a little bit more of acceleration here. I got a Tesla behind me and a Tesla in front of me. It's hilarious. One of the nice things about this car is the fact that you have green plates. So in Canada, you can be in the HOV lane when you're by yourself. You can already see, like, we've been driving for a couple kilometers here and we've already lost 3% of battery charge. I have been pretty hard on the accelerator here. Now, cool thing about this gauge cluster, you have 5, is it 5? You have a lot of different customizations, and you can adjust all the widgets here. So on the right side of your steering wheel, this dial here will be adjusting widgets, and you can see like G-force meter, accelerating, look at the G-forces, pulling in 0.8 Gs. One thing with the regen braking too is when you step on the brake pedal, it activates the regenerative braking in the motors, but if you need additional, it will switch over and add in the mechanical braking system without you even knowing it. And it will also slightly use the mechanical braking system all the time just to make sure that the brakes and the rotors are getting cleared and they're staying consistent. Another thing unique about this car is it is a 2-motor system, one at the front, one at the back, and the rear motor has a 2-speed transmission on it, which just, you never actually know when you're changing gears because it's just seamless with it. But back to the screen. So you have the widgets here that you can go through, you can see different information. You click this button on the right and you can go through and you can select the main one. So you want power meter, do you want the map in the center here, do you want the extended map, or do you want reduced? So you have 5 on the Taycan. And then when you're in there, like say we're on map, we can go into the next screen and we can adjust the widgets on the right. So there's lots of customization that you can do for your gauge cluster. You have cruise control toggle down at the bottom here, which is kind of old school, I will admit that. And yeah, we'll monitor that car in front of you. Now, Porsche doesn't believe in taking over, so I don't expect to see autopilot, self-driving on Porsche. That's just kind of against the company's policy, kind of their philosophy, as you would say. They have InnoDrive, which essentially maps the road in front of you and will actually slow down your cruise control, even if no cars in front of you, just because a turn is coming up. So a lot of Porsche drivers don't actually like to get the InnoDrive system when they're getting their vehicles. Just the tight, nimble handling, uber acceleration. Oh my god, I really feel that on my neck. So one thing with these electric cars is like there's almost just too much power, no shifts, no delays. It's just the power just never stops, just goes and never stops. This one is the normal Porsche steering wheel, standard one. Most people, when you get into the Porsches, will have the GT steering wheel, be slightly smaller. You have the center markings and kind of the extra screw bolts in here that give it a more aggressive look. Porsche's infotainment system, they like to call it the PCM, the Porsche Communication Management. They don't even actually have a system, it's just PCM. This is the PCM, which doesn't really make sense. And we just hold it, and I like to call it the infotainment system. It's Porsche's infotainment system. It is what it is. You have standard Porsche navigation, you have your media, phone, vehicle settings. We've got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but we'll get a little bit more into that once we park the vehicle. When we get back, we are heading over to Porsche downtown Toronto. And if you guys are in the Toronto marketplace and you're looking to purchase a Porsche, come visit me. My name's Denver. Come visit me at Porsche downtown and I'll help you out with a great deal. If you're interested in ordering the Taycan or purchasing the Taycan, let me know. I'll leave my email linked in the description down below. But if you're in the Toronto area, even if you're in Brampton, Markham, wherever you are, let me see if I can work out a great deal for you at our dealership here. We are super competitive with all pricing in the GTA. So yeah, come visit us at Porsche downtown Toronto. So we'll review a little bit. One thing I love about the Taycan, this one does have the optional passenger display screen, but since there's no passenger plugged in right now, it just says Taycan and you can't see it. And then you have your control panel down here for your climate control system, as well as some battery information when your park can be displayed there. And you can type in here for navigation or use this as a control for the infotainment system, which is pretty cool. That acceleration, man, and the braking, barely even use. I feel like I've used like 20% of the braking. There's so much more braking there. Porsche always puts massive brakes on all of their vehicles. Because, why? Because Porsche is performance. So here we are back at the dealership. So I'll pull in and we'll touch on a couple things on this infotainment system and show you what all that's like. All right, so let's come to a stop here. I'm not going to go too far into the infotainment system, but let's just give you the overall layout. So you can see the passenger display activating over there. Now that we've come to a complete stop, it's just duplicating everything that's on the main infotainment system over here. That is an additional option. So on the main infotainment system, of course, you have navigation, standard navigation. Whatever you plug in here is going to go up into your gauge cluster. If you're using Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, it's not going to show up in your gauge cluster. We do have both of those. They are wireless. Then you have your media. Go too depth in there, but you know, radio, FM, satellite radio. Go through your both surround system settings. Your air conditioning menu. So you have a little bit more. You kind of have a miniature version down here. I recommend just using this miniature version. Leave the fan on auto and it'll do exactly what you need it to do. If you want to manually control where your air is going to come out, that's where you use the control. One thing that's pretty cool about that is you don't, like, here's your vents, but there's no toggle here to like where you should place the air. It does all of that automatically. It's an advanced air system that's new for the Taycan, which is yeah, it's pretty interesting. You can determine whether you want it to be soft air, strong air, where you want the air to flow out. So that's pretty cool in there. The air quality inside with the ionizer, preheating, pre-cooling. So Porsche doesn't believe in remote engine start, but if you have their electric vehicle, you can precondition the inside with the battery. One thing that's really cool about electric cars in the wintertime, heat comes in like within 30 seconds, the heat pump starts working and you get heat so fast. Another thing with that, there's no coolant system. So if the heat pump does have an issue, you could potentially lose heat in your Taycan. I don't mean to say that in a negative way, but just a realistic, that's possible with any electric car because they all run off of those heat pumps. Found that out recently with one of my customers. And then you have vehicle settings. So you can go in, you can go through your drive modes, you can go through your chassis height. So when we're in sport mode, the chassis height goes to low. You can select chassis height and bring that up to low, lowered, regular. You can have that because of the air suspension. You can do recuperation, off, on, auto. We'll leave that on auto. Assistance, lane keep assist, trip, comfort settings like the ambient lighting. You can go through and change the colors. Cold white, warm white, poppy red, dark orange, Atlantis, topaz blue, lemon green, and dynamic, which will go to the music system. I personally like the light blue Atlantis color. You can change the brightness for all these different areas. And then there's additional settings down here for vehicle settings for electronic parking brake that's on automatic. You can go to option number 2 over here and kind of like summarize widgets. And then you have your charging information, let you know your battery info, pre-cooling, conditioning, heating. Home link is for your garage door opener, devices for connecting your devices, and then the settings for, you know, all the nitty gritty. That is pretty much everything that I have. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys appreciate this test drive in the Porsche Taycan 4S. Let me know if you guys are in the Toronto marketplace and you're interested in purchasing a vehicle. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys on the next video.